Hello, good morning, guys. So I'm that history dude, and we're going to be taking a look at Somerled and his family tree going down to Clan Donald, Clan Rory, Clan MacDougal, and the other steps of Clan Sorley. So I'm going to be starting off with Olaf the Red Godderson. He was the king of Man in the Isles, part of the Crovan Dynasty. He had been in control of these lands since the original Viking invasions almost 300 years prior. Olaf first married Afric Fergus, right here. She was daughter of Fergus, Lord of Galloway, and Elizabeth Fitzroy, a bastard daughter of King Henry I of England. This marriage was done to secure a peace between the Kingdom of Galloway and the Scots, for the Scots would not dare an attack on Galloway with the combined forces of England and Man in the Isles. From that marriage, Afric bore a son, Godred II, Olaf's King of Man in the Isles. He would not retain that title for long because his brother-in-law, over here, Somerled, would take the Isles by conquest and become king of the Isles soon after his marriage to Ragnhild. Now, Olaf the Red married his second wife, Ingeborg Hakondottir. She was daughter of Hakon Paulson, Jarl of Orkney. Together they had a daughter, Ragnhild Olafsdottir. Ragnhild married Somerled in 1140. It is not entirely known what station Somerled had before his marriage. He is known to be a Thane of Argyll, same as his father, which is maybe some sort of sheriff or something of that sort. Somerled, however, did have backing of the native Norse Gaels that lived in the Isles and the area of Argyll. Some would speculate that the marriage between Somerled and Ragnhild here was to ease the tension between Norse Gael and Gaelic populace and Norse overlords that would become Scotland. The Norse overlords and what would become Scotland was a very broken kingdom, further troubled by the Earls of Moray and Ross, fighting for dominance and control, while also being harassed by constant Viking raids along the coast, whilst the Kingdom of the Isles was flourishing under the Crovan Dynasty. Now, to backtrack some, Somerled's father, Gilbride, had been exiled from Scotland and his inheritance forfeited. Gilbride fled to Ireland and was able to gain a following of adventurers that were willing to follow him and fight for him in Scotland to make a name for themselves and make a fortune while doing so. Gilbride and his men set off and raided the Isles while under the control of the Norse at the time. He raided trying to carve a piece of land for himself to call home. While raiding, Gilbride had his son Somerled around the year 1100 near Morven or Argyll. It is not known when he had his daughter Mariette MacGillibride, but he also had her. Somerled quickly became a champion warrior in his own right, and the men began to follow him. Mariette eventually ended up marrying Malcolm MacKeith, who was the first Earl of Ross. Somerled was a very competent ruler and warrior. He had great support of the native population, and when Olaf Godredson died in 1153, he was murdered by his nephews, by the way. His son, Godred II Olafsson, took over the mantle of King of Man in the Isles. Now, Godred Olafsson did not have native support. The Gaelic population did not support him as king. Somerled took advantage of this. He used the opportunity, using his wife's claim, to take the title for himself. Somerled waged war against his brother-in-law and ended up taking the Isles by conquest, thus styling himself as King of the Isles. He would go on to have a daughter, Beatrice, who became Prioress of Iona. and three very important sons: Dougal, Ranald, and Angus. Ranald is sometimes written down as Reginald. It is also worth a note that there's a record of Somerled having another son, Gilcolm, from a previous marriage. However, Gilcolm would die on the battlefield with his father. Somerled and his first son, Gilcolm, both died in 1164. They were camped out near Renfrew right before the battle. Somerled was murdered by Maurice MacNeill, said to be in the employ of Malcolm MacKeith, his brother-in-law. Because he had no will or sole heir, his lands were split amongst his children evenly in the Gaelic succession fashion. So Dougal became Lord of Dunolly and Lorne. Ranald became Lord of Easley and Kintyre. And Angus became Lord of Bute, Erin, and Glamorgan, thus splitting the lands of the Isles between the three brothers. Dougal will go on to have three children: Dougal Scrag MacDougal, Usbach Hakon MacDougal, and Duncan MacDougal. From the three children, only Duncan MacDougal will go on to become a landed lord and continue the line of MacDougalls. From Ranald, we have Donald MacRanald, Lord of Easley, and from here we have Clan Donald. And his brother Rory MacRanald became Lord of Kintyre and Glamorgan. We have Clan Rory, and from Angus there's an unknown son, and James MacAngus, Lord of Bute, who go on to have more children. I will continue their story and their feuds between each other in another video, but I want to focus mostly on the beginning of Clan Sorley, starting, with Somerled and the Crovan Dynasty, and how their interactions led to the beginning of the MacDonalds, MacDougalls, MacRorys, and so on with all their children.